Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning with 60 and Me. Well, for the past 3 weeks I have been traveling around Europe, compliments of Interrail. They provided me with a pass so I could travel anywhere my heart desired on the train system in Europe, and it's been fantastic. I mean, the trains here in Europe are just so remarkable. They cover very wide areas. They're very comfortable. You can get evening trains, instead of staying in a hotel. There's just lots of great, upsides to traveling by train. I love trains, so it's been really great for me. But it's been a very fast-moving trip, and I've ended up spending perhaps a day and a half in each location. So the question is, what do you do in a city when you have just one day? What are some of the tips that I've learned on my journey? And I hope these are helpful to you, because when I first arrived in Berlin, these train stations in Europe are huge and they're very busy, and you can sometimes be a bit overwhelmed if you don't know where you're going. So my rule number one, and I know this is going to sound a little bit American, but it was to find a Starbucks, or really find a coffee shop. Just find a coffee shop where there's Wi-Fi and good coffee, and and just a nice place to sit down, take your luggage, take everything, sit down and just breathe. And watch people, look at the signs, try to figure out where everything is in the station. Go to the loo and just get your bearings. And I found that having Wi-Fi so I can connect to the internet and check in with my mail, and also just get a cup of tea and or coffee, is really a great place to start. Then second thing, in most big cities you have these hop-on, hop-on-off buses, and these are buses that go around the city, and you can just there's about 12 or 15 stops, and you can get on and off the bus. So my rule is to always get on the bus early morning before everyone gets up, try to get there at the first bus, and go around the city once, and just make notes of the places that look really interesting to you. This can take an hour and a half, but it's really worth it, I think, to go around the whole city one time and just not get off. This is just the way I do it. And then I go back around a second time, and I usually have a thermos of coffee or some little things to nibble so I don't get too bored. But I look at the places that I've marked, and then I get off and have a little walk around and visit the local sites, the museums or the churches, or some specific historical point of interest, and then I get back on the bus. And you can take a whole morning doing this, and it's really you feel like you've covered a lot of ground and you've seen a lot. So it's really, I think, a valuable way to spend one day or 1.5 days. And then the next thing is to use Viable. I discovered Viable online. It's V-A-Y-A-B-L-E. And it's basically an online service where you can check in and hire a guide to meet you somewhere in a city and take you around. And of course, it's a local person, so they know where everything is and all the secret places. And they also know about the rules, like how to use the metro, how to use the currency. And just an hour or two with a Viable host is really valuable. I did it in Copenhagen. It was wonderful. Another thing to do is to use maps and guidebooks, but I always take out the pages before I travel, so I'm not carrying these big books, or I use the internet. And just use, if you're roaming, be careful on your phone, but just to get a page or two on the transport system in a city, so that you can really be more independent and save money. Taxis can be super expensive. So let's see what else. Well, of course, talk to people if you feel comfortable. That's another way to really get your bearings in a place. And ask for at the hotel or the hostel, wherever you're staying, where the good restaurants are, where the good cafes are, and just don't be afraid to talk to strangers. And I know that we all are a little worried when we travel sometimes to be careful, but I think that that's a pretty good rule of thumb, to just use your instincts and follow your gut, and trust other people to introduce you to their city. Another thing to do in a city, if you're there for 1 or 2 days, is to use Airbnb or one of the local, like a boutique hotel rather than a big hotel, because you get to know people, and they even might come around with you and introduce you to a little coffee shop or a park, or give you a walking map. This happened in Oslo. The woman gave me a great map for walking, and I ended up, following her instructions and had a great time. So I hope that's helpful. Things to do if you're in a city for one day. And if you've got any ideas, leave them in the comment section below. We'd love to share and share the experience. Thanks everyone for joining the conversation, and look forward to your comments. Thanks so much.